Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Modified Normal from Coping to Cash Flow. I know many of you know who I am, but I'm going to tell you anyway in case I've got some new viewers. My name is Kelly McRae. Back in February, I was diagnosed with lupus, and since that time, I've had to walk away from a 17-year real estate career. And because of that, I have found alternate methods of earning a living. So many of the people that I interview are working the non-traditional job. They've made their own way. Today, my guest is LaShonda Brown. She is the owner with her husband of About 90 Marketing, and they have a second business that she's going to kind of get into also, where they do video marketing. And she is my guest today. Now, a lot of my guests have the challenge, if you will, of a disability or an autoimmune issue. LaShonda does not have that. LaShonda is just a brilliant mind who has started a business that is non-traditional. And I really wanted to interview her because I am extremely impressed with this young lady. She's the same age for the most part as my daughter. And I was like, I just got to have you on. I got to hear your story. So LaShonda was studying to be an actress. She's got an extensive background on stage and in front of camera. And her husband said, let's start this business. And she was like, I don't want to do that. So LaShonda, talk to me about not wanting to do that. Give me the backstory of how this happened.
Well, my husband and I are really good friends, so it wasn't so much of him forcing me. He really could use the help. What happened is I have been doing theater professionally since I was 7. So it's what I knew. It's what I was familiar with. And so often we don't want to be pushed outside of our comfort zones. So I had done theater since I was 7. I had gone to a performing arts high school. I majored in musical theater there. I went to college and I majored in theater there. And so that is what I thought I would be doing. It seemed like the logical transition that I had spent 15 years of my life dedicated to learning something. Surely when I finally got the chance to use that education, I would do something with it. And so what happened is my last semester of college, it all started to fall in place. And what happened is I had to do a senior thesis project. Now, this project for years had only been a 2-credit course. Always been a 2-credit course, and being in a show took 1 credit. So I had to finish everything, and I was right at the peak of what I could have on my course load. I had 17 credits. I'm like, okay, I'm saving 1 because I know they're doing one of my favorite musicals, Ragtime, and I want to be in Ragtime. So I saved that 1 credit for that 1 show. And then right before that semester started, they said, oh, we've now changed the rules. Senior project is now a 3-credit class, which meant I would either have to pay for course overload to be in Ragtime or not be in it all. And I thought to myself, well, I've done theater for free, but I've never paid somebody to put me in their show.
Right.
I thought, this sucks. This really sucks that I saved this credit to be in this show. I just cannot bring myself to pay. And it was kind of that start of God releasing me from this desire to constantly be involved with theater, that things just kept coming in the way that, nope, can't do theater. And so I got engaged during the time they were putting up that show. And I thought, Lord, if I had been in this show while I was planning a wedding and helping my husband, soon to be husband, run this business, I would have lost it.
Right.
And so it was good that I wasn't in that show. It was good that that door closed because I would have been overwhelmed had it not closed. And so after I graduated, we'd already had the business, and it was right after I graduated that we got our first paid client. And then it just started spiraling after that. And so it just seemed like I made the right decision. As much as I wanted to go audition for shows, they did Color Purple where I grew up, and I'm like, oh, it's only 2 hours away. I could have been in that show. I could have been
Right. You could have seen Miss Seeley.
I'm telling you, all these things kept coming up, and I was like, oh, really, God, really? You sure you don't want me to be on the stage? And so I just really struggled with it for a long time because I thought, well, when God gives you this new plan, It's not
Yes.
necessarily he's denying you another plan. It's he's giving you his best. And so I just had to let it go. I had to say, you know what? I know I spent all this time. I know I spent all this energy, but this is what I'm doing now. And I realized that all of those years of theater were not wasted. I use my theater experience every single day to help other people to brand themselves and to stand out in a really crowded space online. And so I can see how God used that time to prepare me for where I'm at now. So now, of
Yes.
course, I'm like super confident about it. I'm like, oh yes, I knew all along. Yes, yes, Lord, I knew. In
I'm
reality,
such
I
a
knew.
wise individual. I've got this. I knew it, and I didn't have any angst about it at all.
Oh no, no. I spent so much of my time being bitter. I mean, I remember going to networking meetings and people would say, "Oh, that's the video girl." And I'm like, "No, that's the thing I know the least. I'm the theater girl. Why don't you even know I can sing? You don't even know I can dance." Like, "Really? I'm the video girl?" I just
Right.
really struggled for years. And then over time, I began to realize, no, I'm not just doing video, I'm good at it. I didn't know I'd be good at it, but I'm good at it. And so, by the time I launched the second business, that was really kind of that step of saying, okay, it's okay for the world to know I'm an entrepreneur now. I can stop hiding underneath the rock. Okay, all right, friends. I'm no longer
Nice.
doing theater. I haven't done a show in 3 years. I'm like, okay, I cannot call myself an actress if I'm not acting. I'm an entrepreneur. That's who I am. Accept it. It's okay.
Nice. Now tell me, because I know that your husband had some words of wisdom for you that helped kind of bring you over, if you will. You and I had this discussion when you came to Atlanta last month, and he had said there was something he said to you that made
Oh,
you kind of do a mind shift.
did you write it down?
I did not. I did not.
So
Oh
many
goodness.
things. He said so well, and I'll tell you this. I can't remember exactly what he said because he probably drops a knowledge bomb on me like once a day. So the big thing though, in all seriousness, is he had the desire to be an entrepreneur. And he had the desire to grow a business to provide for his family. And he saw skills in me and encouraged me to push myself beyond what I thought was possible. I would not have gone from, oh, I spent 15 years training to do something to, oh, I'm going to try something I've never even attempted. I was
Right.
never that person. I would always attempt to do something that I thought that I could do well. That was just how I've always been. And so him pushing me had really helped me to get to where I am. And now we're at the point where we're pushing each other. We both have a YouTube channel now. And so like, even though I appear on his channel, I am always like, he got 5 more subscribers today. I gotta get on my game. I gotta upload a new video. And so it's so silly, but it's so good to have somebody there to constantly challenge you to go beyond what you think is possible.
Yes. And I like that not only are you all challenging one another, but in that challenge, you're also encouraging one another. And that I think is really a big deal. Now, I know that a lot of, because I follow you on Periscope, I follow your Blossom Network. I know that, and from meeting with you and sitting with you, I know that a lot of what you're doing is based in your belief in God. Kind of talk to me a little bit about that, about how that is affecting your business, how that's helping you run your business, and how you feel that that is really growing your business.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride because I think, I don't know, Periscope became my video diary, really. Um, because none of my friends were on it. It was kind of this place where I could, not that I had like this super seedy past, but that I could start over. I could be the person that I really wanted to be. There are people who follow me on Facebook who've known me since I was like 10,
Right.
and so for them to see me as a video marketing strategist is quite a stretch. But on Periscope, that's all I've ever been known as. And so I remember, launching my business live on Periscope. We had no plans for New Year's. And so I'm like, you know what, darn doll, I'm launching a business on New Year's. There you go. So I'm on Periscope and I'm like, okay, my website's going up. And I had no clue what my business would turn into, but I knew I needed something up. And as people started to pay me, I really started to fine tune my message and what my services were going to be and all of that. But I kept coming back to this reality that I was entering this world of selling online. And when you're selling in person, you know, people don't typically discuss their faith in a business meeting. Like, it's just not something that typically happens.
Right.
But this idea of being online, people are way more transparent online than they are in person. And so the expectation is that not only will you talk about what you sell for a living, but you'll talk about who you are and why you do what you do. And so I
Yes.
kept finding myself getting to that point where I'm like, I have to tell them I'm a Christian. Like, I can't, how do I explain this story without including that, you know? And I kept coming to it and I kept coming to it. And I'm like, all right, fine. I may lose some followers, but I think I finally say this. And I remember there was a night where we were supposed to get this job. It was like a 5-figure job for Life Focus. And I mean, everything was done. Vendor paperwork done, you know, proposal done. We'd all but chose the date that we were going to go and show up and film this video. And then the project disappeared. And it shook me at my core. I'm like, this project would have taken care of an entire month of overhead for both of our businesses. And all of a sudden, it was just gone for no reason at all. And in that moment, I'm like, I need to show people how I deal with disappointment. I don't scream. I don't say that God's forsaken me. All I do is I remind myself of God's promises until I start believing it. And so I turn my camera on and I just started reading. I just started reading directly from the Bible. And I'm like, look, I don't know if any of you care about this, but I need this. And I'm recording this so I can watch it again if I still feel this way tomorrow. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, I've literally poured it all out. Like, there's no way you can doubt that I'm a Christian. Like, it is what it is. Now, what are people going to do about it? And I kept seeing the comments saying, oh, I needed this. Oh, praise the Lord. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for reminding me of God's promises. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I realized in that moment that you rob yourself of truly, truly enjoying the beauty of doing business online by keeping those important aspects of yourself to yourself. You know, in person, you've got all this etiquette and you've got all these rules, but online, you can be what you want to be. And some people take it to the extreme and they go a whole different direction. But at the end of the day, you can be who you want to be. And if you really want to be known for being a believer and a business owner second, you can do that and nobody can stop you.
Right.
It was just like when I realized like how powerful it was for me to be able to say all this stuff that I wish I could say in real life, that I wish I could be at a business meeting and just spew the gospel all over them. You know, it was so freeing that I'm like, okay, from now on, no shame. This is who I am. If you really don't like it, there are so many other people you can watch, but this is who I am. And I can't talk about how blessed my business has become without talking about who blessed it.
Right, right. And I think that for me, that was kind of what drew me. For those of you that are watching, LaShonda and I belong to a very large group of Periscope broadcasters called the Perry Girls. And I joined Perry Girls because, you know, I've done YouTube videos and LaShonda clearly has done YouTube videos. And neither of us, I think, if you were to meet LaShonda, she says she's an introvert. I don't believe her. I think she's full of some nonsense, but that's just me. But
I am. It's true.
but she is not shy in front of the camera. Neither am I. And so, you know, so I actually found her prior to learning that she was a Perry girl, and her genuineness. And I'm sure you guys, as you're watching this, I'm sure you can see that her spirit really does come through. She didn't have to say that she was a believer for you to know that she was going to be a blessing. So, you know, I kind of want to get back, LaShonda. I know that at one point in time, you and your husband were running your business. You had actually moved into a very large house so that you could house the two of you and your business. Kind of talk to me a little bit about that experience and how that shaped what you guys are doing today.
Oh my gosh. So you guys are getting a snippet of probably my first book. I'm not gonna write it. I'll talk it out to somebody, probably Benicia actually, but
Awesome.
I want to call it like my time in the big house. And it's got nothing to do with jail, but it kind of felt like it, to be honest with you. What happened, just so you guys can try to wrap your minds around this. I'm 26. So God has done this very bizarre thing of forcing me to experience so much so soon. Most people that you know that are 26 don't own two businesses. They don't have a film festival and a theater company under their belt. They're just trying to figure out life. And so what happened to us was we started Life Focus out of an apartment. And then that apartment grew to 2 apartments. And then the 2 grew to 3. And literally, my husband would edit a project. He put it on a hard drive and he would drive to an apartment, drop the hard drive off, and that person would do all the audio design. And then when they were done, he would get in the car again and he'd drive it to another apartment and they would do all the color grading and all the titles. And it just felt like, okay, we need to just be in the same place. If we could be in the same place, we wouldn't break hard drives. We wouldn't have to stress about that. We could just talk to each other. And so we decided, okay, well, how can we get an office? And at the time, I mean, we were still, golly, we were probably, I was 23. I think I was 23 at the time. And so we thought, okay, all these commercial leases are 3 to 5 years. We have no clue where we're going to be in 3 to 5 years. So we found a county where we could work from our home, where it was allowed for you to work out of your home. And so we moved to the county and we moved in this big house. And unbeknownst to us, this house was in a homeowners association neighborhood. We had engineers and doctors as neighbors. Everyone else owned their house, and that one house was a rental because the homeowner was having trouble selling it. And so we just encountered all these people who had spent their lives saving up to make it in this neighborhood. And here we were, somehow slipped in the cracks and ended up in a house, with 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and 2 kitchens. And it worked for us. We shot so many commercials out of that house. I can show you so many things and I'll be like, oh, that's the basement. Oh, that's the living room. We really used that house for our office and we basically just lived in our office. But it taught me that when you spend your life striving to acquire all these material things, you've put them on a pedestal because you've never had to deal with them. But when we were in that house, we had this huge yard that went up to a lake and we never stepped on that grass, but we paid hundreds of dollars every month for somebody to cut it.
Right.
And it was just, the things just kept adding up and adding up and adding up. And I just thought by the time that 2 years in that house was almost done, I was like, Lord, I don't want that. I don't want it. I mean, we would drive past that house and I would literally cry because I'm like, my grandmother, her mother was a sharecropper. The fact that I'm in this neighborhood, in this huge house. I mean, we had her stay with us for a week and she would just sit in the kitchen and just sit in awe of what we had accomplished so young in our life because it just wasn't even on the radar for her. And after all of it was said and done, I'm like, Grandma, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was a big house, but we used like 3 rooms. You know what I mean? I had to clean 4 bathrooms.
You're like, that alone was not worth it.
Yeah, 4 trash cans and 4 toilets and all 4 sinks, and it was just like, okay. So God, now that I am, I think at the time I was 24, going on 25. Now that I'm 24 and I've gotten that out the way, we couldn't afford we couldn't afford a used car, so we got brand new cars. So we're sitting there with brand new leased vehicles in front of this huge house, and I'm like, okay, God, I've arrived and I'm 24. What else are you going to do with my life? Like, what does the next chapter even look like? And then
Right.
stuff starts to happen. So I just feel like it taught me so much about being content and really putting your faith in things that actually matter, and not allowing yourself to be validated by your bank account or your home or your car, and really finding your identity in Christ, because that's where it was the whole time. So
Right.
it's just weird because I got it out of my system. So when I see my friends, wanting that stuff, I'm like, man, it's going to take you decades before you realize it isn't worth it. And then you won't be able to turn back. Luckily, we now live in a luxury 2-bedroom apartment, and I love it. Something goes wrong, I put in a work order, it's done. It's great. I have no grass. I love it. So
Nice.
it's good, but that time was needed for sure.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you again, every time I talk to you, LaShonda, I'm just impressed with the things that you say, because you have what us old folks call an old soul. You've done a lot, in this small amount of time, and you are just, decades ahead of where the number is from your birth date. So you mentioned that, that you came from, if you will, sharecroppers, which a lot of us did. Talk to me about that, because many of us, especially us, that are wrapped in chocolate, we didn't have any examples as far as the entrepreneurial spirit. We're the first generations, if you will, of entrepreneur. So talk to me a little bit about that. How did that work in your family dynamic?
Yeah, I think early on when we told our parents, oh, by the way, we've quit our jobs and we're going to make a job, it was just like, like it just didn't even register. My mom has worked for Bank of America for 2 decades. My dad, ex-military in the Army, and it was just like, I don't understand what you're saying. And they really just wanted us to be able to provide for ourselves. But when we would try to explain how we were doing it, they were just like, I'm just proud of you. I'm proud of you. I don't understand, but I'm proud of you. And so it's difficult. It's difficult because you want to be able to have mentors in your life. You want to be able to reach out and bounce ideas off of people. Um, but even not just being Black, but just being young. I mean, most of our friends are twice our age.
Right.
So we struggle with their stories of their week-long vacations in the islands and their grandbabies and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, if I had 3 decades to acquire money, I probably have enough to go to the islands too. But right now, I'm just trying to get to Busch Gardens. Like, my expectations are so much lower than yours, you know? And so it's one of those things where it's hard to find a place to look. And then the internet happened. And so I have real, genuine friendships online that I can't find where I live. And so I spent so much time feeling like this oddball. I mean, it was a constant prayer request that I would tell people. I'm like, guys, I don't feel like I belong. I'm so sick of not feeling like I belong. Nobody gets this. Nobody understands. I tell them I automated something in my business and they just look at me like a deer in the headlights. Like, they don't understand how awesome that is. Like, they're not gonna
Right.
pat me on the back. Like, it's awesome. It's great. But
Yeah.
online, they get it. Online people get it. And so I spend way less of my time explaining what I do and simply encouraging people to give me a chance to do it for them. And
Right.
it is so much easier. So much easier. So, like, if anybody is out there who's debating whether or not they're going to sell online or not, I'm telling you, it's easier. It's easier because you can set the tone and say, this is how I want to do business. And there are so many people in the world online that there are people there who will follow your rules and will be the perfect clients because you've laid out the perfect foundation for them.
Yes. And it opens up your business from just your local area as well. It gives you a global, a global audience to do what it is that you do.
Hmm.
So, and let me ask you that, because I know that, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, because again, I didn't come from way back, way back when I was 16, 17 years old. I remember sitting in my father's living room, and there was a news segment on that said, for every $1 that you're paid, your employer earns 3. And I was like, I don't like those numbers. And I remember telling my dad I was going to start my own business, and my dad telling me that you don't start your own business, you go to work to pay bills.
Yep.
And I think, so I can relate to where you're talking about, where you're like, I have nobody to talk to and nobody understands what I'm talking about. Am I crazy? Is this going to work? So let me ask you now, I know that because I follow you on Periscope, and I think that, I learn boatloads from you. I don't always follow it all. Not because I don't think you know what you're doing, but because I haven't gained quite the confidence. Now I'm better at sales offline, coming from my real estate background. So I'm still learning and figuring out the sales online aspect of that. When you first jumped on Periscope, was this something you'd already geared up and you knew that this was what you were going to do? Or was this something that you kind of had to build yourself up to?
Oh my gosh, I'm still building. Good grief. Because I'm used to doing business in person. When I launched that website on New Year's Day, we drove up to spend time with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, and somebody online has saw me on Periscope and paid for a consultation with me. Now, my whole thing was I didn't set it up to sell to people online. But somehow they navigated my website. They found a way to schedule themselves. And that just showed me how much they genuinely wanted to work with me. It blew my mind. I'm like, okay, this is different. I'm not chasing money. They're finding me. Oh, this is nice. And so every day that I was out of town, I kept getting an email from PayPal. And it wasn't like buku amounts of money. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I had money in my bank account from people I'd never met. And I remember my first Skype calls, getting on, and I'm like, hello, what's your name? And so it was so bizarre to me. I'm like, I don't know how long this person had watched me. In hindsight, I'm so different than I was back in January. But they had watched me and trusted me enough to give me their money. And it was just an awesome experience. And so now it's that whole spending money to make money phase, and I'm like, okay, I'm beginning to exhaust all the free resources, and now it's time to invest in yourself. And I'm still like, oh, I like my free MailChimp. I don't want to pay for ConvertKit. Oh, and so I'm still building, and I'm still trying it out because it's still so very new to me.
Right.
But at the same time, I know how to do business. This is just a different platform.
Understood. So now mentioning going to those, and sorry to interrupt you there, going to those free platforms that we're talking about. So you're just now, you're 6-7 months in from launching on Periscope, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you've spent these 6-7 months utilizing these free methods. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to get specific, but I want you to give me a general number because, again, much of my audience is battling an autoimmune disease. They're relegated to sofas or beds, or they have some form of disability. They're working from home, and I keep telling people, you've got to get past you got to get out of your own way and utilize these Facebook Lives, Periscopes, YouTubes, that kind of thing. Talk to me about the past 7 months financially, without necessarily giving out the numbers, but talk to me about what that's really meant for your business, just using the free platforms where you've not yet invested in ads and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number I don't mind sharing at all. I mean, at the end of the day, when I launched about 90, it was simply a way to pay off my student loans in a year. That was my goal. I said, okay, I am making enough to cover my salary at Life Focus, but at this rate, it's going to take me 5 to 10 years before I pay back these student loans, and I'm done paying for a degree I'm not using. It's kind of like, all right, let's be honest, friends, not using that, so let me be done. And so that was my goal. Well, I reached that goal without paying for any paid resources last month. And
Nice.
so at that
Congratulations.
point, thank you, thank you. At that point, I was like, okay, well, I accomplished what I set out to do, but now I have this awesome business that like pays me money. So am I going to shut it down just because I reached my goal, or do I make a new goal, or what happens at this point? And so that's when I was like, okay, put on your big girl pants. I made a Facebook page. I made an Instagram page. Like truly, I had no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter for my business. The only thing I had running my business was my Periscope account, a YouTube page that I didn't launch until April, and a landing page on my website. That was it. And so when a lot of people say, oh, I need all of this stuff to make money, the one thing that you need is a strategy. You have a strategy, you can work free resources until your strategy pays you enough money to up your strategy. But what happens is people try to throw money at a problem with no plan. And so they spend thousands of dollars on stuff and they still don't have the kind of money I have to show for it. Because my
Right.
return on investment's awesome because I spent like nothing, you know? So I'm getting better, ROI than anybody because I wasn't spending any money, like not a dime. All I spent money on was a Squarespace website. I knew I had to have a website. I didn't even have a professional email address until a month ago because MailChimp said, we're not going to let you send out mass emails anymore from a Gmail. You have to
Right.
have one linked to your website. So then I
Yes.
spent the $5 and bought an email address. I kid you not. Like I kept everything super lean because I wanted to make sure this is what I want to do and that this is going to work. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So now I'm like, okay, well, it's going to work. I have a plan. I have a system. So now it's time to invest in some more paid resources to help me do what I do better.
Okay. So you've got Life Focus,
Hmm.
which is your video business, and
Yeah.
then you've got About 90 Marketing, which is your marketing. Break those two down for me. Kind of tell me what the difference is, and why one would be chosen over another as far as doing business with you and your husband.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, Life Focus does not do business online. Life Focus is a corporate video company. So we tend to do work with big businesses for Life Focus. You're talking, the town of Leesburg, the city of Lynchburg, the town of Appomattox. We do a lot of government work through Life Focus, where we work with a lot of big nonprofits with $1 million budgets and things like that. So the branding for Life Focus is very corporate, professional. It has a personality, but it would be intimidating and overkill for people online. Also, Life Focus was that company that my husband started because he had a skill set with video. But my skill set, my personal skill set is strategy. And I find that more women need strategy than anything else. They need somebody to cut through all of the chaos and tell them what they need to do. Men don't have as much difficulty singling in on one thing. Women, however, we tend to do because we like to multitask. We like to do a
Right.
lot. And so it's okay if you like to do a lot if what you're doing is productive and helping push you toward a goal. And so I decided for About 90, I would gear that toward women online with smaller businesses. So people who are in network marketing businesses, people who are selling courses online, they're coaches, they're consultants, stuff that's way smaller. With Life Focus, you're talking about thousands of dollars. With About 90, it's typically hundreds. So I wanted to make About 90 more about hiring me to do your strategy. Maybe I use my whole team to get it done, but About 90 is way more about me. Life Focus is just a business. So you wouldn't know if it was owned by me or my husband or what. It's very, very corporate.
Okay. Understood. Perfect. Now, for those people who are, considering starting a business, and I think that you've really kind of already, without knowing it, kind of inadvertently touched on, hey, I did this using free platforms. You don't need a whole lot. You just need an area of expertise. Talk to that person that says, I don't have the resources. I don't have the personality. I don't know what to do. And I don't think I can get started with this because I'm not wealthy. I'm not rich, and I don't have anything to say.
Well, I would say this. If I had to look back on how Life Focus got started and how I just entered this whole land of entrepreneurship, the biggest problem that I had was I didn't have anybody to talk to. And so I structured my business to allow people to talk to me. If you name a mistake in business, I've probably already made it. And I made it fast, and I made that mistake big because there's nothing about me that's subtle. And so you can learn from my past mistakes. You can learn from all the information that I've gleaned after working with over 100 clients and seeing all these different types of businesses and why some work and why some failed. And so the biggest thing I would say is when you're getting started, you need to find that strategist and that coach that helps you come up with that game plan. So you're not just doing the shotgun approach, shooting around, hoping for the best and hoping something sticks. You will waste less time, you will waste less money. And then from that point, you can move forward with confidence because you actually have a plan. One of the biggest reasons why people, they feel apprehensive, they second guess themselves is because they don't have a plan. It's like going and delivering a speech for an audience of thousands of people without practicing. Of course, you'd feel nervous because you have no idea what's coming next. You have no idea what you're going to say. But imagine if you had a speech outline. Imagine if you actually practice it. Imagine if you've given that speech 20 times before. You would get up with confidence. You would do a much better job, and you would not be nearly as nervous because of that plan. And so often people forget how important it is to slow down and develop a plan. It's like getting in a car. You can get in a car and go from here. I can go from here to California by getting in a car. I can figure it out. I might get there eventually, but if I actually had a GPS, I would get there more efficiently, And so it's all about efficiency because when businesses run out of money, that's when they fail.
Yes.
So if you can be more efficient so that you don't run out of money before you start making money, then you'll make it. It's a numbers game. And so you need somebody who knows the numbers, who knows how to work the numbers, and is willing and ready to tell you how it works. Otherwise, it's just going to be tough. It's really going to be tough.
Yeah. So tell us now, okay, so you've got Life Focus, obviously. You've got, excuse me, About 90 Marketing. And I saw your new page, and it's awesome. And I've seen your website, and it's awesome. And I've seen your YouTube videos, and they're awesome. And I've seen your Periscopes, and they're awesome. So tell us a little bit about, number one, you don't have to tell anybody how awesome you are. I'm going to do that part for you. But talk to us a little bit about the time it takes. I mean, because you recently just added these other elements to your business. Talk to me about, because that's the other the thing that most people will say, well, I don't have the time, but you've got all of these aspects of your business, and many of them are fairly new. Talk to me about your time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's about looking at your business and really seeing, okay, I've tried a bunch of different things, but things aren't working, and just get rid of them. Entrepreneurs care too much about their own ideas. They will stick with the bad idea for years. They will run that bad idea into the ground. But if you can objectively look at it and say, okay, I'm not getting response doing this, and just let it go, you will get much closer to a business that actually works a lot sooner. So for me, I ran About 90 for 90 days, and I stopped and I looked back and I'm like, okay, these things worked. Didn't like this. All right, I'm going to do another 90 days. And I did it again. And I'm like, okay, let me make these tweaks. And I stopped and I looked back and I said, okay, moving forward. That's why I named my business About 90, because it is all about that idea of running your business and making decisions based on the numbers and not your emotions. Your emotions will lead you astray. But if you're taking that time and you're looking back and saying, okay, I'm willing to let this go, even though I thought it would be brilliant at this time. If people aren't taking action, then it's not nearly as brilliant as you thought, and that's okay. Letting that go will get you closer to that good idea. So when I look at my business now, because I know, okay, if I have a thing now called the brand boost. It used to be my 90-minute consultation. It's the same thing. It's just got a name now because people online like to see a brand name instead of just numbers. They can't really connect with numbers. So I just named it something different. I'm like, okay, what does it do? It helps people boost their sales. It's a brand boost. There you go. Very simple. Then I said, okay, well, what are some things about this that I do over and over and over again? I either outsourced it or I automated it. And so when I start pushing things off of my plate that I don't need to do, I don't necessarily need to do, or I start to automate the things that I do all the time, it frees up my time. I also realized if I get somebody in for a brand boost to talk about their business and to give them a 90-day strategy, I can tell them about the other things that I do.
Right.
Part of the reason why people get so overwhelmed is because they're trying to market 10 things to 10 different people. I'm marketing one thing. Let me give you a strategy. Let me give you a plan. Once we have a plan, we can figure out what resources you need to use. Maybe you use them on your own, maybe we use them together. But let me develop that plan. And when I really took the time to figure out if I just sold that one thing, everything else would fall into place, I saved a lot of time. Because now I'm not spending all my efforts like promoting 10 different things. I'm like, huh, do this, do that, take action here. No, just a brand boost. Just
Like
like
it.
a brand boost. So
Okay.
I would encourage people to find that one thing.
Okay. So now, if I were hiring you, what would I expect from you? Like if I called you today and I said, LaShonda, I suck at this online thing. I really need you to kind of reel me in. How long am I, when, I don't even know how to ask this question, probably because I need you. We'll be talking after this call is over. But, so I'm calling you up for the first time. What are you telling me that I am to expect am I talking to you 90 days? Am I talking to you 3 times? Are you giving me a strategy? You're checking with me at the end of 90 days. Tell me why my audience should hire you, basically.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I offer in the world of online coaching and strategy is just blatant transparency with love. With love. I'm a very caring person, but at the same time, I feel like there's so many people being lied to. And so many people being told, oh, yes, your idea is brilliant. Pay $400 for my course. Oh, yes, your idea is brilliant. Come to my live event for $2,000. I'm not going to tell people that. Like, if people have watched me long enough on Periscope, they know that I say what I mean and I mean what I say. And so when I work with you, I'm going to ask you, what have you spent your money on over the last 90 days? Do you regret any of those expenses? Are there things you want to try? I really get under the hood because I need to understand why you got to the place that you're in. It's almost like a therapy session. But the awesome thing is, because I'm super efficient, once you tell me where you've been, we work together to talk about where you're going over the next 90 days. And then we talk about it, we work it out. I literally sit down and say, okay, we're writing down week 1 through 12. All right, what are you going to do week 1? What are you going to do week 2? Okay, let's put this here. You can probably fix this on this week. Okay, we can move this around. And when I'm done, I send them a typed up 12-week, 90-day strategy to say, this is what you need to do. Do you need me to keep you accountable to this, or can you handle this on your own? Be honest with yourself. Do you need me checking in with you? If they need that, then I will. If they don't, that's fine. But it's because we started that relationship being transparent, they know I'm not just selling them things simply because I want money in my bank account. I'm asking them what they need and then say, okay, do you want me to do that or are you going to do it? Because it needs to get done. So who's going to build that website? Who's going to make that ebook? Who's going to, plan that webinar? Are you going to do it or am I going to do it? Because it needs to get done. And so they'll sit there and go, okay. And, my family, they'll call it the Mama Shonda moments because it's just like, okay, all right, you said you were going to do this and I will call you out. I will call you out. But at the same time, I will support you when you put yourself out there. And people know that. And so I think that, there are a lot of options out there, but I don't know of very many strategists who care that much. And it's a blessing and a curse for me. Like, because I care so much, I get hurt a lot. And I'll be honest, I do get hurt a lot. But at the same time, I have some of the best friends I've ever had because I'm willing to be honest. So that's kind of what you get when you work with me. And if that's what you need, if you need somebody to not just be transparent and give you a plan, but to also invest in you as a person, then I'm a good fit. If you kind of want like that hands-off approach, like, oh, I just want the numbers, I just want the spreadsheets, then no, I couldn't be that serious. So that's just the way I roll.
Yeah, and I appreciate that about you. Guys, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. We got about 10 minutes left. I want to say, many of you have been with me on Facebook for years. Some of you, you've seen me go through my fashion blogging, my shoe blogging days. You guys have seen me, battle out as I'm beating the daylights as I can out of lupus. And I think that you all have come to know that when I bring you someone or when I bring you something, I'm usually pretty transparent as well. So I've got a pretty loyal following in my Facebookers for sure, just because. And I will tell you guys, I had the opportunity. LaShonda lives in Virginia, and I met her, if you will, on Periscope. And I don't know if many of you are on the platform of Periscope. The way Periscope works is you're talking to people who are typing. So they can see you, but you can't see them per se, unless you're fellow scopers and they get to dip in on your scope. LaShonda is such a genuine person and such a real, like she said, very transparent person that she's one of the few scopers that I on purpose search her out to see what she's got to say, because she brings you a lot of value. She gives you information, and when I say give, she really does give you information that you can implement without hiring her services. So you know that the minute you hire her, if what she's giving away is as good as what she's charging for, you would be completely remiss in not hiring this lady. Do not for 1 second let her 26 years deter you, because at 46 years old, I'm like, I need her. I'm just being honest. We want to, I struggled the first time I found out you were 26 years old. I was like, she's young enough to be my kid. But my kid is pretty smart. My kid's got a Bachelor of Science and Economics degree. Therefore, these young ladies are not half-stepping about their business. So if you guys are looking for awesome marketing, if you're working in online business, and I'll tell you guys what, you really hit the nail on the head for me, LaShonda, because lupus obviously was a diagnosis that I did not expect. And it has turned my world on its head. And I was blogging high heel shoes, and I was blogging fashion, and I knew how to market that online. The new stuff that I've got going on, don't quite know how to market that online. So you guys, I promise you, are going to see changes in my business, because there's a little red button at the bottom of the screen. When we say our goodbyes, and I'm going to hit stop broadcast, and then LaShonda and I are going to have a private conversation where this young lady is about to gain another client, and she's going to revamp my business, and you guys are going to watch the changes and the transitions and what happens. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to continue to promote and push and share why you'll see my business go from A to Z with her help, because I'm going to do the work and she's going to help me. So LaShonda, give me your last, first of all, I want to know your websites. and where people can hire you. We know Life Focus is off the table. We're going to talk about 90, and I'm going to put those in the notes also, guys. And so kind of give me your goodbye spiel.
Yeah, well, I have my favorite props from Periscope. So I have my newest prop. I don't know if you've seen this, Kelly, but this is my newest prop.
I have not seen that.
It's a microphone that my sister made me. So if we were on Periscope, I would say if you'd be interested in working with me, I would encourage you to click on the link in my bio, which is bit.ly/LaShonda Scopes. So if you guys go to this link, and I'll put that, there you go, bit.ly/LaShonda Scopes. This will lead you to my landing page. And like I said, in all transparency, before I had my website together, that landing page was making me money the first day I was in business. So if you make it very simple and concrete for people to buy from you, it's okay if the rest of your life isn't together. As long as you have one page with one message, you can do it. So that's my link. Obviously, I have about90marketing.com. If you want to go look at our videos, you can go to lifefocuspictures.com. But bit.ly/LaShonda Scopes is the link that has made me my money, and it's where I'll be sending everyone I can.
Awesome.
So that is my link, and you can get access to a webinar registration for an upcoming webinar on how to use Canva for your business. It's a resource I use to make beautiful graphics. You can do it for free, another free resource. So if you want to join that webinar, you can click on that button. But if you want to pay me, there's a nice button that says Book a Brand Boost, and that's where you can go to get started.
Nice. LaShonda, it has been an absolute pleasure. It was a pleasure to have met you when you came here to Atlanta. I agree with you that I feel like I've made a lifelong friend. And the wonderful thing about Periscope is I got friends all over the world now that I've never physically touched, although I've given you a big giant hug when you came here last month. And I just appreciate you for taking the time out of what I know is your very busy schedule to hang out here with me this Monday evening. And I was nervous about, because you have those scopers that are kind of like they're like your scoper crush. And LaShonda, for me, is she is one of the very first, as soon as I logged on to Periscope. And so I was a little nervous about, I'm like, am I going to be able to, am I going to ask the right questions? Am I going to get the information I really want out of her? So LaShonda, I absolutely thank you very much for sharing your time with my audience.
Oh, it was awesome. You did a great job. Probably one of my favorite interviews so far.
Yay, thank you. Exciting. All right, so I'm going to hit this stop broadcast button, guys. Again, my name is Kelly McRae. This is Modified Normal. This happens every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to follow me on Periscope, you can do so. And LaShonda's probably going to fuss at me because I don't have my links prepared. Oh, sorry. I know she's
got it in your brand boost.
No, right, exactly. And that's why we're going to have a conversation right after I hit the stop broadcast button. But so if you guys want to follow me on Periscope, I'm Hurricane in Heels there as well. So thank you all for spending your time with me and LaShonda this evening. And I will see you all on Periscope tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Or I'll see you back here next Monday at 7:30 p.m. where we'll have another guest. And of course, I'll have to hint at that all week as well. So thank you guys, and I will talk with you soon. Have a good evening.